very first run. And so far, what a very smooth bike it appears to be. First thing I noticed, and I've had a lot of Enfields, there's very little vibration, virtually none. Which, considering I've had so many classic 500s, and they're huge vibrators, is a really pleasant surprise. Another thing I noticed straight off the bat, the Himalayan appears to be, or it feels to me, a lot bigger bike than what you expect. First impression is, doesn't appear that much smaller than a CB500 stall, CB500X. Gear change is good, clutch is nice, but it just seems to pick up far better than a classic 500. So yeah, overall appears good, apart from that bit of a stall back there. I wouldn't say that front brake is dynamite, but everything else seems nice. Control layout's nice. This is the, in case you tune in for the first time, this is the Australian version, 2019 model. Supposedly putting out 24.5 horsepower, carby, but running along nicely at 50 kilometres an hour in fourth gear. Controls seem nicely laid out. Ride's a little bit on the firm side. Just feeling that seat. Seat seems, yeah, not bad. I don't know how you'd go on a lot longer ride. Speedo does not appear to be what you'd class as dead accurate. Seems to be wavering a little bit up and down, so wouldn't class it as 100%. A little bit slightly on the wobbly side, but the bike itself appears to be well behaved. There's a little bit of a burble there on the back shift. But overall, yeah, I think it's a pretty pleasant first run, considering the experience I've had with, once again, classic 500s. So I think we'll just pull down here at the giveaway sign. So I'll stop here, no one behind me. So I'm 5'9", weigh about 83 kilos, and I can hold here flat-footed on the ground. So that gives you a rough idea seating position on the bike, which is roughly 31.5 inches. I've got the camera set up now on a different angle, and well, it's good. Bike's warmed up a little bit more now, and it's really nice smooth bike to ride. Every time you drop back on the gears, it's hear that little burble back from the exhaust. And once again, gear change, clutch action, all good, nice and positive. No complaints whatsoever. There's a big difference between riding this bike compared to a classic 500, that's for sure. I think if you had to be critical, and that's what we are when we get on these bikes, you would have to say the front disc is a bit dodgy, and naturally no ABS on this bike for Australia, which I mentioned earlier. But apart from that, you know, there wasn't that long ago where no bikes had ABS, so that's something you got to be aware of, and you get to live with it, and you know, it's all good. But you know, for a new bike, it's a very comfortable ride and does motor along quite nicely. Slight bit of reflection in the instrument pod, but once again, it's something, again, I suppose you get used to. You could also buy from overseas, I think you could pick it up from England, one of those anti-reflective film you can put onto the instrument display. That'd probably knock that around, or knock that down a little bit, and that'd solve that problem. I don't mind the riding position. It's a little bit slightly forward, I've noticed. I suppose if you're a little bit taller, you might decide you might want risers. I did find that if you get onto Hitchcock's UK, they do sell, I think it's 30mm bar end risers for about 35 quid in UK money. You can buy those and whip the bars up, I think it's 30mm or slightly over 1 inch, so that's something you can look at if you're a taller rider and you think you might need something. I was actually thinking of ordering those, but that's something I may look at later. But for this particular bike, I've ordered accessories from all over the world, whether it's some from Germany, some already from the UK, some are from America, stuff from India, so it's coming in from all over the place, so you know, won't be any shortage of stuff. I do really find it sort of swings around these bends almost like a sports bike, you know, like it really doesn't tell you how it handles, so I'll try the back brake. See, the back brake's good, the front one's more spongier. And here it is, idling away nicely. Second gear pull. So, yeah, see, for 410 or close to 410 cc's, it does pick up really nice. So overall I'm very happy with how this bike's running around, and there's not much I can say about it. The control layout's good. The switch gear appears fine to me. Seems to handle nicely, you can move it around. You know, nothing silly at the moment because these are brand new tyres, so I have to be a little bit careful, and I think now I am starting to use these brakes a little bit more. It may have a little bit more, or starting to get a little bit more bite on the front disc than what it had from the original kick-off on the first part of the journey. So far not no false neutral, or no false neutrals at all. On classic 500s, you know, it's a common trait, false neutrals on these bikes. If you're noticing a little bit more movement in the camera, which you could in this section, the camera is now sitting up now on like an extension pod, and you may pick up something where in the other one it was down, say 4 or 5 inches lower. So it's just hard to say. You may pick up a little bit more movement, but it has been moved up quite a few inches, so I would expect to see a little bit of movement on it, and if so, it's got nothing to do with the bike. It's in a more rickety situation there now where it's sitting up higher. So once again, these things happen, but I just wanted to get the angle up a little bit higher. But if it doesn't work, well, I just won't try that idea again. Yeah, so overall I think this very well virtually conclude the around town running. I think next time out I'll do an out of town run, maybe a dirt road run, and one thing I can say is usually on all the experience I've had running C5s around town, you don't have to run it very far from you, and you always come back, smell that the motor's running hot, or your plug's fouling up, and that's with the fuel injected versions, and they run a little bit leaner and hotter. This carby job, haven't smelled anything on this bike since I've been running it around, and if anything, the only fault I've found on this bike so far, it appears to be that wonky speedometer. And I've just had a look at the connectors back there earlier on when I did this change, and I'd almost bet that I'll be going for a replacement speedometer, and that means if that happens, that'll be a complete housing there. But when you buy Enfields, these things happen, and I've had these Enfields over a period of time, and compared to it's only a minor thing, and I've got no complaints about there, because that's nothing compared to, you know, the odd drama I've had with Enfields, and it appears this is going to be so far the signs are good, this is going to be a really good bike. So very happy there. So once again, thanks for pulling in and having a look at my channel, and if you haven't thought about it, why not subscribe, and further down the track I'm sure something on this channel will appeal to you, and if you've liked what you've seen so far, give it a thumbs up, and I hope you've enjoyed your stay, and we'll catch up with you next time. And once again, thanks for tuning in.